What's up, Reds Nation? Come closer, because today we're talking straight from the heart of the Trent End. You know that type of news that makes the ground shake at the City ground. Well, hold tight, because what's happening behind the scenes at Nottingham Forest could change everything this season. First up, a name nobody saw coming. A lightning bolt who's already torn through the Premier League once before, and now could be back to explode under the command of a manager who already knows his electric style of play. But does he still have gas left in the tank? Will he accept wearing red again, but this time at a different home? Meanwhile, from across the continent, a heavyweight name started circulating through Forest corridors. A guy who's already played toe-to-toe against European giants. Who knows what pressure means? Passionate crowds, stadiums pulsing with energy. He's out of favor in Italy and could arrive here as an impact signing. But is it worth the gamble? And to close this explosive combo, there's a young talent who was practically sealed with arrival, but suddenly everything stalled. And that's when Forest went all in on the deal. A midfielder who runs the entire pitch, who tackles, creates, distributes, and could be the engine that was missing in the middle. But will the board have the guts to win this battle? Is it spine-tingling or what? Now tell me, true supporter, if you could choose just one of these names to arrive with swagger at Forest, who would it be? Comment below. And of course, smash that like button because this video is just getting started. Oh, and hold on to this hook. The first name on the list is an old acquaintance of manager Nuno Espirito Santo. And he's already closer than many people think. Come with me because part 2 will show you who this explosive player is and why this signing could be the trigger for a revolution. His name makes any fullback think twice before bombing forward. When he breaks away, it looks like the pitch turns into a racetrack. And guess who's got their eye on this rocket? That's right, our Nottingham Forest. The star of this first bombshell is Adama Traore, the same one who already terrorized defenses in his Wolves days and currently wears the Fulham shirt. But anyone who knows recent English football history knows one thing. The only manager who managed to tame this beast was precisely Nuno Espirito Santo. And that's where everything starts to make sense. According to sources connected to Sky Sports, Forest are in direct contact with Adama's camp, trying to stitch together a triumphant return for the player under the command of the manager who best knew how to use his weapons. Physical strength, insane pace, and that style that unbalances any defense. But let's be honest, supporter, Traore was never just a speed merchant. When he's confident, he draws double teams, opens space for the attackers, changes the game's rhythm with one burst. And with a manager who already knows his tricks, the chance of success shoots sky high. But there's a catch. He still has a contract with Fulham and won't leave for pennies. Forest's board knows they need to act fast if they want to beat the competition. And it exists. Spanish clubs and even Saudi Arabia have already signaled interest. But the player hasn't decided yet, and that's where Nuno's ace card comes in. The Sporting Project. They say the two have already exchanged messages, that the manager made it clear. Here, you'll be the protagonist. And apparently, Adama liked the idea. Now stop and think for a second, Red supporter. Imagine this guy flying down the right wing with the stadium-packed big game against direct rivals. Is this the type of signing that changes the level or what? And more, if Traore arrives, he's not coming just to fill out the squad. He's coming to be a starter, to be a reference, to be the name shouted from the stands. But what nobody expected came next. The talks, which seemed cold at the beginning of the week, heated up again in the last few hours. People close to the player guarantee he's inclined to work with Nuno again. What's missing? A final agreement with Fulham. And the money, of course. Now answer me, would you approve Adama Traore's arrival? Or do you think it's too risky a gamble? Comment below because this conversation is going to generate some heat. And prepare your heart because if you thought this news was strong, the next one will make you question everything about Forest's midfield. A heavyweight name with European pedigree could land at the City ground. And the best part, Juventus are willing to negotiate. Come with me to part 3. And just when we think Forest board is already going all out in the market, a name emerges that seems unbelievable. A guy who's played for the national team, Champions League, Premier League, a defensive midfielder who has technique, vision, a massive experience to carry the midfield. Yes, Douglas Luiz Traore, currently at Juventus, has entered Nottingham Forest's radar. The information hit like a bomb in the Italian press corridors. According to the Porto Black and White and Read All Over, specialized in Juve coverage, the player is out of the new manager's plans and could be sold in this window. And sure enough, Forest didn't waste time. Initial talks have already begun. The idea? Bring Douglas Luiz on loan with an option, or even obligation, to buy, depending on performance. A bold move that could be the masterstroke missing from Nuno Espirito Santo's project. But hang on. Not just anyone can pry a name like Douglas Luiz away from Juventus, right? It turns out the Brazilian wasn't included in the squad for the last pre-season friendly, and according to internal sources, is frustrated with the lack of minutes. Additionally, the Italian club needs to raise funds for new signings, and in this scenario, Forest appears as the most aggressive club in negotiations. Now, let's imagine this scenario: Douglas Luiz and Danilo sharing Juve's midfield. Now cut the scene. Douglas arrives at Forest, puts on the red shirt, takes the central role, and becomes a technical and moral reference. Can you believe it? But it's not all roses. Behind the scenes, some Italian supporters criticized the player's temperament in recent weeks. There was even controversy after he missed a training session without prior notice. He publicly apologized, said he was going through personal problems, but the damage was evident. And here comes the question: is it worth bringing a player of this level, even with this recent history? Because nobody questions his talent. Douglas has the quality to play for any Premier League club, but Forest's board would need to weigh everything: cost, impact on the squad, dressing room atmosphere. If he comes with his head in the right place, he could be the midfield engine. That guy who distributes, tackles hard, and even shoots from outside the box. With him, Forest would stop being a supporting act in midfield and start competing head-to-head with any team from the upper part of the table. So what do you think, Reds? Do you trust this gamble? Or do you think the club should aim for a more hungry name? Maybe younger, cheaper? Comment below, because this decision could completely change our team's playing style. And hold on to this. While everyone's discussing Douglas Luiz behind the scenes, Forest's board has already initiated contact for an American midfielder who was almost sealed with another club. And suddenly the scenario flipped. The negotiation caught fire in the last 48 hours, and his name is coming strong for the next segment. Come with me to part 4, because Yunus Musa might be closer than it seems. And there's a surprise at the end. You know that signing nobody sees coming. But when it happens, it changes the entire game. Well, this could be the case with Yunus Musa, the American midfielder who had everything set to close with Napoli, but ended up stalling in the final stretch of negotiations, and who jumped into the game with both feet. Yes, Nottingham Forest. This story gained momentum in the last 48 hours. According to Team Talk sources, the negotiation between Musa and the Italian club hit a snag over salary details and contract duration. Napoli hesitated, and Forest didn't waste time. With their radar switched on, the board entered the dispute strongly. Wolves and West Ham were also monitoring the situation, but it was Forest who arrived first with a convincing plan and a sporting project that caught the players' camp's attention. And get this, supporter, hold on to this. They say Musa has already given the green light to come play in England, and that Forest are confident of closing the deal in the coming days. But why all this fuss over this name? Simple. The kid is 21 years old, is a starter for the United States national team, and has already played Champions League wearing Milan's shirt. He has intensity, energy, tactical awareness, and that hunger to grow that's contagious throughout the squad. He runs the entire pitch, tackles with strength, gets forward with quality, an engine in the middle, the type of player who fits any system. And the best part, he hasn't reached his peak yet. In other words, if it works out, Forest could have in their hands a star ready to explode and become a valuable asset for the future. But there's a catch. The competition hasn't left the scene yet. West Ham are preparing a new bid, and Milan won't release him for any price. There's talk of something between $20 and $25 million, depending on bonuses. But look at this. If the board manages to bring together Adama Traore, Douglas Luiz, and Yunus Musa in the